So we're in section 4 of chapter 20 of your biology book, and we're going to be talking about crustaceans, aquatic arthropods. Aquatic arthropods live in the water. Crustaceans, they range in size from wood lice and minute water fleas to lobsters and giant crabs. With its legs extending, the giant spider crab measures up to 13 feet. So we have a variety of crustaceans here. So one thing about crustaceans, let's take a look. Here's what they look like. At least this is the crayfish, which kind of looks like a lobster or a shrimp too. They're kind of in the same family. So they have 2 pairs of antennas, as you can see there, and in the front of the body. Their antennas are in the front of the body. Let's point to them right here. Antennas right here. 2 pairs of antennas, and they have 2 or more pairs of appendages. Well, you see we have pairs of appendages. They have 2 or more of those. Appendages means like legs or arms, right? But appendages would be, of course, these are not really legs or arms, but they're for movement. They have a hard, crusty body, an exoskeleton that's very hard and crusty, made of chitin, which is a calcium carbonate that they eat, and then they make this hard cover that they have. Most of them most often gills for breathing. There's certain parts of their life where they may not have these gills, but most of them now have gills for breathing. Most live in the salt water, and we eat a lot of these kind of crabs and crayfish and lobster and prawns and shrimp. They're delicacies for human beings, right? So let's talk about the external structure. This is a crayfish. Another name for the crayfish would be a crawdad. So it inhabits certain lakes, ponds, rivers, and streams that contain calcium. So it can live in the fresh water. Well, most of the time most of them live in the fresh water, I should say. They're on every continent except Africa and Antarctica. Can you believe they don't have any of those in Africa? They have 2 major body sections, a cephalothorax. This part's the cephalothorax. And cephalo means head and thorax means body, so their body and head kind of go together in the cephalothorax. And they have the tail part, or the abdomen where the tail is. So wait, let's see. So here's the cephalothorax, here's the abdomen, all these parts. And then the tail, of course, is part of the abdomen, actually, and it has the telson and the uropod, both those areas for swimming. So they use those kind of like fins at the end. The carapace is its hard cover and its hard shell, and it contains the vital organs. And they use this carapace as a defense for predators, so that predators have a hard time getting in the carapace. This would be the carapace here that protects. See, all of its major organs are in the cephalothorax here. So, and the rostrum basically protects the head and the forward extension. Here's the rostrum right here, this little area that protects the head, called the rostrum. So you kind of see, but hopefully you're watching this because you can actually see the different parts easier here. And this is a pretty good picture of a crayfish. So appendages of the head. Okay, let's look at the head. The head has 2 compound eyes that are attached by flexible stalks. So here's the compound eye. And they also may have some flexible simple eyes too. And this one they have just the compound eye. Let's hold this steady here so you can see it better. So the compound eyes there, and they can have some simple eyes. The young baby ones only have simple eyes, and then they develop a compound eye. They have 2 sets of feelers to their head. So these 2 feelers are called antennules or antennae. So here's the antennule, this little part, and here's the bigger, thicker one is called an antenna. So you have the antenna and the antennule. The antennas, basically the antennas have sense organs in them for hearing and balance. Actually, see these for feeling too. So let's look at the large antenna. Let's talk about the large antenna. Behind the antennals, these are out front. The little antennae, attenules are out front. They're called attenule, and this is antennae or antenna. So behind this, you'll see that they have this. Behind the attenule, you see this one. So the antennae. So the antennae has senses of touch, taste, and smell. So they can touch, taste, and smell with that one. The attenule has the sense organs of hearing and balance here. It's very important, balance, because they have in these antennules little statocysts. These are little sacs, like sac-like organs, and therefore balance, so that if they don't have these in there, if these statocysts are not there, they could not even swim upright. They would go upside down in all which ways. So they need those statocysts so they can tell where they are and how they can swim here. The statocysts are in your antennules. So they also have mandibles and maxilla for chewing. Those appendages in their mouth here for chewing. Let's see if here's a maxiped, but inside the mouth here are the jaws, basically the larger mandibles and the smaller maxilla. And they move their jaws horizontally like an insect, not like we do, up and down. They move it horizontally. And they have one pair of maxilla that pumps water into the gill chambers. So that's in the mouth here. So let me look on the next here, see if I have any more pictures that are just as good. Well, this is where we're going to talk about too. Okay, so let's go back to this other one until we get to the dear. Okay, come on. Okay, so the appendages of the thorax, they have the first three sets are designed to help the crayfish keep a firm grip on their food. The maxipeds are jaw feet. So these first three sets are called maxipeds, and they're jaw feet. Let's see if you can see right here. Walking legs here. Here's the maxiped, is the first two pairs, not visible from this angle, but these are to hold in food, called jaw feet. And then these are the walking legs. And they'll have four pairs of walking legs. The behind the maxipeds are the chelopeds, and these are the appendages with the pinchers. That's these, cheloped. This is a pincher one, and this is a pincher one. And then you have these maxiped, the two pairs here, and then you have these walking legs. Four pairs of walking legs for locomotion. Four have pinchers on them, and four have single claws. So you can see here's the single pinchers, and here's like the little pinchers, and here's the claws. So four have pinchers and four have claws. They have several gills beneath the carapace. You can't see the gills necessarily here. We'll see them in the next picture. And they attach to the base of the crawfish. They can grow back legs. If their legs are bitten off or something, or come off somehow, torn off, they can grow back another leg. Now let's talk a little bit about the appendages of the abdomen here. The abdomen, they have these little swimmerettes on it. These are for swimming around, of course. And the first five pairs are rather small. They're kind of tiny ones. They have a bunch of them. They have first five little pairs there. And the smaller ones are where the female attaches the eggs to these. The sixth segment, this last segment here, is the uropod. And the uropod and the flipper are used for swimming there. And they whip around. The uropod is kind of like a flipper, and then there's the telson. It's like this is the telson and this is the uropod, and they're used for swimming too. and they can dart back in the water and use these powerful by whipping these around with these little swimmerettes. So basically the abdomen and everything is for swimming. Okay, so let's go on to the next section. Here we go. Hold this still, okay? Oh. Lost it for a second. Here we go. Okay, we're going to quickly go over all the different anatomy of the crayfish. If you're looking and you are dissecting it, and you can see, we're going to see the digestion, the respiration, the circulatory system, the excretory system, and the nervous system. That's like 5 different systems here. So let's go through them quickly. I'll just go through this picture so you can see them. So the digestion, first of all, we know that crayfish and these arthropods are predators. They eat snails and fish and tadpoles and insects. So they're carnivores, right? But they also may eat plants and decaying animal matter and other things too. So they're very similar to the insects' digestion. There's some important differences than the insects. First of all, the digestion takes place through the mouth on the underside of the cephalothorax. The mouth is right here. You can see where the mouth is. So, it's kind of a little tiny mouth there. It's underside here. So, through the mouth and the underside there, and then the food moves upward with a very short esophagus. Here's the esophagus here. Very short, goes in, very tiny esophagus. And then into the section of the stomach known as the gastric mill. Let's find where the gastric mill is. So here's the stomach. Let's see, the digestive gland is there. Let's see. Well, anyway, it goes in the esophagus in here to the intestines, in here, and this esophagus gastric mill is right in that place right there. With the gastric mill, it's like a gizzard because it grinds up food and the small particles. So basically, this gizzard is if they didn't have this gizzard, they wouldn't have the tiny pieces in there to grind it. The gastric mill is guarded by hair-like structures, like sieve-like, to prevent some food from passing until it's ground. It has to be ground or it won't pass through the gastric mill. So into the stomach. Here's the stomach, and the first part of the stomach is the gastric mill. The digestive glands at the rear of the stomach, and there's many small pouches, and they secrete and dissolved enzymes and nutrients through this area of the digestive gland. Digestive gland, stomach, gastric mill, here into the esophagus. Hard to see there. So the food is mixed with the digestive enzymes there, and they break the food into molecules. And then the digestive gland is in the rear of the stomach where many pouches secrete these enzymes, and then the waste is passed into the intestine. Let's go see where the intestine is here. So here's the intestine right here. Mouth, esophagus, mill, stomach, digestive gland, intestines. Go right here. Here's the intestines. And they go right out all the way down to the anus. Intestines do. So that's the digestion. Let's talk about the respiration. They breathe with gills. So, and the gills are at the bases of the legs of the thorax. And at these bases where these gills are, they're protected by the carapace most of the time. And the gills are waved to the water when it moves. This exchanges the oxygen and carbon dioxide in the water. And some can survive out of water for a short time, but most have gills in their carapace. Most like to stay in the water. And there's many small species that lack gills, and they breathe through their skin. Let's see. Maybe you have to go back and see Let me go back and see where the gills are. I think it's important. Put them all together in one, especially because I'm having a hard time with the internet here. So maybe, here it is. The carapace covers the gills and protects the organs there. I guess they don't really show the gills because the carapace is covering it. Okay, let's go on to the circulatory system. Just know the respiratory system is with gills. The circulatory system is open circulatory system. That means they don't have, you know, the veins and arteries and such like we do in a closed system. That basically everything flows all the way through through the organism or through their body. So they don't have hemoglobin, so they have colorless blood. They have 7 arteries instead of a single aorta. They have 7 arteries, and these arteries basically return to the heart by flowing through the body and then onto these arteries, not a single aorta. So so they return to the heart by flowing through the body cavity, collecting in the pericardial sinuses, and then re-entering the heart through a 6-valve ostia. So here's the heart. So as we go through the heart, you can see it's going down to the aortas down. Let's see the heart goes. Let's see. Basically, just have a picture of the heart here. But these are, as you can see, it's an open system as they come back through here and back in, gathering through these few 6 or 7 arteries. The excretory system are the green glands. Okay, let's look where the green glands are. Let's see, green glands, excretory, right here, these little glands. What are these glands? They lie in the front of the stomach. They're open to the outside at the base of an antenna. That's what they are, right at the base of the antenna. And what they do, they function like little kidneys, and they remove wastes, and they store minerals for molting. So basically, when the arthropod is going to molt and get rid of its exoskeleton to get a new one, this green gland will save some of the carbon, calcium stuff material, so they can make a new skeleton. Pretty neat. So the nervous system has a brain, it has nerves, it has several sensory structures, and it's sensitive to smell, taste, and touch. And these, of course, are located on the antenna. We kind of went over that already about the compound eye there. They have a wide angle of vision, sensitive to movement. The statocysts are the base of the antennas, and these statocysts at the base of these antennas help with balance, and they have these sensory hairs there and grains of sand. So on every movement these grains of sand moves, they tell what position the animal is in. So, and it stimulates these little hairs to adjust to the equilibrium. So they also, when they molt, the lining of the statocyst is shed with the exoskeleton, so they have to get some more grains of sand for that purpose to put as a statocyst. Very unique, these little statocysts. If you're in a tank with one of these crayfish and you decide to put some iron in the tank, it will use the iron as a statocyst, and then you can use a magnet and it will go wherever the magnet is. You know, it's kind of quite an experiment. Maybe it's not the best experiment to do on them, but anyway. So let's go on, and we're going to talk about the life cycle. These here. Oh, these are other. We're going to talk about the life cycle before. Let's see. The life cycle of a crayfish here. So they mate in the fall, and then the male deposits sperm into the seminal receptacles of the female, and they're stored there, the sperm's stored there until the eggs are laid. Then when the eggs are laid, it fertilizes the eggs with the sperm and attaches the legs to the swimmerets. And so in 6 to 8 weeks, you have the young hatch, and they continue to grow without reaching a final size, they keep molt. They get to a certain size and then they molt again. Molt is when they grow a new exoskeleton and get rid of their old one. The green gland, as I said before, helps them with the calcium carbonate so they can make a new skeleton. And they're ready, when they're ready to molt, here's how they molt. Let's see how these guys molt. These are some crustaceans. Let's see how they molt. Well, how they molt, they would basically, their body would swell up. They drink lots of water and make their body as big as possible, and then split. It's so big that it splits their carapace, splits their shell, and then they remove all the water, and then they wiggle out of their carapace, and then they shed its teeth, and they're very vulnerable when they shed their skeleton. They shed their carapace, so they usually hide, and they then enlarge back, make themselves large again, and start forming their new exoskeleton, their new carapace, and the new skeleton is hardened, and calcium is added, and the crayfish, they'll molt up to 7 times in their first year, but at the end of the life, usually they molt only 1 to 2 times a year. So that's some pictures. Okay, and here's some pictures here. Let's see. Here's some pictures of other crustaceans. So other crustaceans, most other crustaceans are very small. Of course, we have crabs, lobsters, prawns, and shrimp, and then very small or microscopic crustaceans. Fairy shrimp, cyclops, Diphoria, Gomerus, woodlouse. Arcellus are the seeded shrimp, and some are found in ponds and streams. Woodlouse, pillbugs, roly-polies. Have you heard of roly-polies? They're crustaceans. I thought they were bugs, insects, but they're crustaceans. They roll into a ball when they're disturbed, and their gills are very damp, keep them very damp. So even though they don't live in the water, they live in the water of a damp moisture soil or so, and keep their gills damp by that way. We have brine shrimp, which live in salt lakes and marshes. We have barnacles that live on marine crustaceans that attach to rocks and piers and boats, and you have to scrape them from the ships. Those are called barnacles. All those things are crustaceans. Here's a Daphnia water flea crustacean. Here's barnacles. Here's woodlice. They look like that, almost like little armadillos, but they're crustaceans. And here's lobsters, of course, and prawns. Prawns are shrimp. Now we're going to look at some extinct arthropods, and then we'll be done with this chapter. So some extinct arthropods, as you see here, they're only in fossils. That means we don't have them anymore. In fact, some of the arthropods, even the insects, the dragonflies, are 28-inch dragonflies. Those are really big dragonflies. We don't have that big of 28-inch dragonflies today. Some of these are very bizarre as you look, but we have these what's called the trilobites, and the trilobites are crustaceans. Let's see, picture of a trilobite here. Oh, here's a sea scorpion. Those are 5 feet long. Anomalocarius is 22 inches long. So you can see the scale. And here's a trilobite. This is what I'm going to talk about. This is very important because they used to think the trilobite was a missing link, and it surely is not the missing link for evolution. But trilobites are extinct, and they're small aquatic arthropods like little horseshoe crabs. They scud along the seafloor for food, and now they're extinct. So these animalcants, the Anomalcaris right there, they're really strange because they have these 2 weird things in the front, like 2 feeding arms in the front, right here, these 2 feeding arms in the front, and they gather food with their feeding arms. At least that's what they did. They're extinct now. And they also have like millipedes that were 6.6 feet long. Millipedes. Here's a big, huge millipede. Can you imagine that big? So These are extinct arthropods, probably extinct after the flood, do you think? So you can finish your questions here, and most of these are on crustaceans. So, and find out, I went over all of these things, I hope. And, okay. And carapace, rostrum, millipeds, swimmerets, uropod, green glands, those are all in the anatomy. Okay, let's go ahead and stop there. We're done with crustaceans for today.